So, as usual, morning we are explaining the meditation on the breath. And in the afternoon we are dealing with the awakening of faith in Mahayana. Now, you should be very clear. The text we are analyzing, which you have got about the Anapana meditation, is taken from the Shravaka Bhumi of the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra. That means Shravaka Bhumi explains how to become an Arahat. We want to become an Arahat based on the meditation on the breath, which is the entrance in northern tradition, in southern tradition, to the practice of mindfulness. Practice of mindfulness leads to the realization of the selflessness. If you want to become an Arahat Buddha, we have Arahat Buddha, we have Pratyeka Buddha, and we have a Bodhisattva Buddha, 3 types of Buddhas in Buddhism. If you want to become an Arahat Buddha, so what you have to do, and what you have to do in all Buddhist traditions, is to let go everything. Let go the 5 aggregates. When you let go the 5 aggregates, you become an Arahat. When you let go the 5 aggregates, which is the most important, no matter what kind of Buddha you want to become, you have to let go the 5 aggregates. So you have learned also a little bit the approach from the Mahayana Shadotpada Shastra, approach from the Pragya Paramita Hridaya Sutra, the Heart Sutra. You let go, that is freedom. We are bound because we can't let go. This is the common feature of all Buddhist traditions. There is no difference in that. When you let go, you will have access to the truth of the emptiness of this world. For us, this world is not empty, therefore we are also not empty. When we are not empty, we will not become an Arahat. So this is very common. There is nothing special in it. Now we also have the practice of the Bodhisattva, which is explained in the same text, in the Bodhisattva Bhumi, which is also base. In the Theravada tradition, we study about the Bodhisattva practice from the Charita Pitaka of Dhammapala. He has more or less he's basing his explanation on the Bodhisattva practice on the Asanga analysis of the Bodhisattva Bhumi. So there are many similarities. Don't think that this northern tradition and southern tradition, they are so divided. They have been complementing each other. Now, if you want to become a Bodhisattva Buddha, you have to give rise to the bodhicitta based on the great compassion. The great compassion we have seen is the Avalokiteshvara, is the Chenrezi. The Chenrezi Avalokiteshvara in the Chinese tradition is also called Guanzizai. Guanzizai means looking at the freedom. Not only freedom in oneself, but complete freedom in regard to the world also. And the skillful means for complete freedom in regard to the world is the bodhicitta. Now, to understand bodhicitta, we have to understand the suffering of impermanence that is common to all Buddhist traditions. If we don't know the suffering of impermanence, we will never get anywhere. We will never be Arahat Buddha, we will never be a Pratyeka Buddha, we will never be a Bodhisattva Buddha, we will never get anywhere. So the basic teaching of Buddhism is the same, and we cannot jump over it. When we don't understand the suffering of impermanence, we will never become a Buddha, no matter whether disciple Buddha, Pratyeka Buddha, the Bodhisattva Buddha. They are Buddhas because they have thoroughly penetrated the truth of suffering. The Arahat Gavampati in the Samyutta Nikaya says, when you see the Arahat who is always chewing, that's why he's called Gavampati. He says, the great Arahat, he says, I have heard from the mouth of the Buddha himself, when you understand the suffering, truth of suffering, you understand the truth of cause of suffering, you understand truth of end of suffering, and you understand the truth of the path leading to the end of suffering. Everything is contained in the truth of suffering. To understand the truth of suffering depends, in every tradition we have a different means. But finally it leads to the same. This is a base. We have to understand the truth of suffering. Then we can get the freedom. But when we understand the truth of suffering as being one truth, that is the philosophy of transcendental wisdom, there is only one truth, the truth of emptiness. Then we can also have freedom in regard to the world. If we don't realize, we will have freedom in regard to our sensations, which are guiding our worldly mind. Our worldly mind is working on sensations. We are bound to sensations. Sensations are the cause and the effect. The cause of suffering and also the effect of suffering are the sensations. In the past, because we were holding two sensations, we were born in the samsaric existence. In the future, when we hold to the sensation, we will be again continuing this process of birth and dying. And now you are also learning this process of birth and dying is happening in every moment. It is not just that we are born and we die in the process of birth and death, but it happens every moment. And the Buddha is encouraging his disciples to meditate on the breath to understand this truth. The breath also appears and disappears moment by moment. And this will be more clear if you meditate on the breath in the whole body, because you will see that these cells, they are rising, they are extending and shrinking moment by moment. That's our life. When it does not happen, we are not here. Because it happens, we are here. So now let us go back to our text, which we should understand how to become an arahat on the base of meditation on the breath. We have to understand the bodhisattva. The Buddha is also has to become an arahat. If he is not an arahat, he is not a Buddha. But he has the Dharmakaya. We have explained that. This Dharmakaya brings the 3 bodies of realization and the freedom in regard to not only inside but outside also.
Why did you select the chapter on the Shravaka Bhumi and not the Bodhisattva Bhumi?
Because the Shravaka practice, without understanding Shravaka practice, we cannot understand the Bodhisattva practice. It is not possible. And nowadays, many people study Tibetan Buddhism. It has become a kind of very popular. Or study Zen. It has become very popular. But it is, unless they understand the truth of suffering, it will be accompanied by misunderstanding. So like now, the Tenzing and myself, we are taking the course in the Havajra Tantra in Kathmandu by the Sakya tradition. I am also teaching in that course Samatha. And they will never introduce you in the genuine Tibetan tradition to any tantric understanding of the practice unless they have explained to you very much in detail the truth of suffering and the great compassion. The great compassion cannot arise without you experiencing the truth of suffering. And that is very important. That is a source of misunderstanding. You cannot have great compassion without understanding the truth of suffering. It is impossible. Now, we want to do the impossible. And the result will not be what we expect.
Can I ask one more clarification?
Okay.
You referred to truth of suffering as the suffering of impermanence.
Yes, the true suffering is...
My question is, when I studied with my teacher, he emphasized on the pervasive condition suffering. Of course, all 3 levels of suffering, but with more emphasis that when Buddha was teaching truth of suffering, it was primarily about pervasive condition suffering.
Yes, how you call it, pervasive or not pervasive, it is the suffering of the samskaras.
Right.
That is the ultimate suffering. Only a saint penetrates it. The Putujana, he does not understand the samskara dukkha. And that is the paramartha dukkha. The others, they are samvrti dukkha. I am being born, I am going to die, I am connected with people I don't like, I am deprived of people I like. All this is samvrti satya, samvrti dukkha. The paramartha dukkha, so the Visuddhimagga explains very nicely. The paramartha dukkha is the samskara dukkha. The dukkha, parinama dukkha is only to understand the samskara dukkha. And you penetrate only the samskara dukkha when you have penetrated the Eightfold Noble Path. And you cannot penetrate the Eightfold Noble Path unless you have the realization of the ultimate reality. Impossible. This Visuddhimagga and its commentary, unfortunately not yet available in English, explains in a wonderful way. So now we come to our text, which emphasizes how to become an arahat based on the meditation on the breath. In the Buddhist tradition, no matter whether northern or southern, this meditation on the breath is explained based on the Anapanasati Sutta on the 16 exercises. We have also here the 16 exercises. Please read carefully. They are slightly different in what you find in Visuddhimagga and what you find here, but more or less the same. But the explanation is slightly different, you will see, because the technique is not only regarding the in-breath and out-breath, but regarding the whole body of the breath. That means a subtle breath when you're not breathing. So we will not go by word explanation. I have chosen only those places which are important. So first of all, in the first page, he explains what is the cause of anapana. He explained the cause of anapana. What are the causes or causes and conditions of inhalation and exhalation? That is the first page. And he is using a rather complicated terms. He says there are two: propulsive karma. What is propulsive karma? That is a karma which has taken you from previous life to this life. You have been taken. Why have we been taken from previous life to the present life? Because we were accumulating samskaras. When we accumulate samskaras, we cannot let go. When we cannot let go, we will not become Buddhas. So that is the propulsive karma, which takes you from the previous existence to the present existence. When you study Abhidharma, especially the Theravada Abhidharma, even it is propulsive karma kind of, which takes you from one thought to another thought. It is also kind of propulsive karma. Why? You will learn in the Mahayana Shradotpada Shastra. You need avarjana chitta. What means avarjana chitta? You need the propulsive in order, suppose the mental process. I am a teacher of Abhidharma, but I don't want you to get too much involved. You should more meditate. I have been learning and teaching that for a long, long time. How according to the Theravada model, how do we see a color? How do I see the color of your eyes? The brown color, right? How do I see? First of all, I have to pay attention, right? Attention is what gives direction to the mind. If there is no attention, the mind has no direction. Like the rudder of the boat. The boat needs a rudder to go in a certain direction. If it does not have that rudder, then it does not go in a certain direction. Right? So I see your eyes, and I want to pay attention to it in order to distinguish it clearly. So what will happen? My bhavanga will break. My bhavanga will break and will arise avarjana chitta. Avarjana means turning to. We had a vivarjana yesterday, turning away. Avarjana is turning to. I turn to the object. In Yogacara, very similar. When I turn to the object, automatically this object, because I am using eyes to turn to the object, automatically that object will be reflected in the sensitivity of my eye. When it is reflected in the sensitivity of my eye, it will be received by the mind, by mental consciousness. If mental consciousness does not work, the eye has no function. Eye has no function without the mental consciousness. And the base for the continuity of the mental consciousness is bhavanga, is alaya. Right? And the mental consciousness is a base for the continuity of the five senses. If the five senses don't have mental consciousness, they cannot continue. Right? Yes. So I investigated, then I decide about it. These are brown eyes. And then my mind goes to this image, mental image of these brown eyes, and I start to get idea, I like it, I don't like it, I want it, I don't want it, it's a beautiful eye, it's a non-beautiful eye, this is exciting, this is not exciting, whatever ideas may arise. And then my mind, this is a very fast process, and my mind again fall into bhavanga. Then if I stay my attention with the same object, it runs on the same object. Like a film. You have a picture, and these pictures are moving very, very fast, right? And you have impression that there is a continuity, but actually it is cut into pictures. Similarly works our mind. Because you pay attention to the same object, therefore it has continuity, right? Like the film, same idea. It is actually cut into individual pictures, but they are connected together by the machine. Here the machine is the mind, no? which is guided by attention. When there is attention, the mind goes to the object. And what takes him to the object? The will and vitarka. If there is no will and vitarka, you cannot go to the object. When you are deep in concentration, you don't need any vitarka. Just the will to stay. The mind becomes very subtle, it does not need any thinking. When the mind becomes subtle, it does not need to think. So this is the model you get in Theravada Buddhism, Yogacara, similar model, but let us not go into it, we will never finish. But we understand propulsive karma. We are breathing because the prana is our horse, and the mind is a horseman, says Yoga Vasishta. Very wonderful scripture. So this prana is the vayu, is the wind. And that wind also takes the mind from one mental process to another mental process, from one moment to another moment, from one thought to another thought, from one existence to another existence. If you don't have this wind, then there will not be continuity. So you need this propulsive karma to be breathing now, because in order that we are reborn, there had to be a will, no? And will is what also accumulates the samskaras. And then space in the region of the navel. That is above the perineum, very important. That is similar, that is the idea of Tantien. Hara. The space here. When you are relaxed in meditation, when you meditate, how do you know you are relaxed? And how do you know your breath becomes subtle? Because the gravity descends to this region of navel, above the perineum. The perineum is kind of a spiritual organ. Even you become a great yogi, you can do wonders with this perineum, but not in our case, because we have not been trained in Tibet somewhere. And that is region of the navel and the pervasive space between each and every cell of our body. That is the Roma Kupa, the pores of our skin. So these are the causes of our breathing. If we don't have the space here, if we don't have the space in our pores of the body which expands and shrinks, then we are not breathing. We become like piece of wood. And also the temperature will go out from the body. When the temperature goes out from the body, prana goes out from the body. And where we go, who knows? Okay, now we understood the cause of breathing. This is very important. The next we have to understand the bhumi for breathing. It's on the second page. What are, he translate the bhumi by locations. What are the locations of inhalation and exhalation? This is another important question. The bhumi literally means in Sanskrit or Hindi means the ground. That's why he translated the locations. But the bhumi here has a more meaning of the base. It's a better. So the breath is a wind, wind is a rupa, and the rupa can only manifest in space. If there is no space, a rupa cannot be manifested. No form can manifest without a space. That's why the base is a better translation than location. You cannot see anything, you cannot hear anything, you cannot smell anything, you cannot taste anything, you cannot touch anything if there is no space. The space, in the space, the rupa will manifest. The rupa means the space is a rupa paricheda. The limits of the form. If there is no, if form has no limits, it will not manifest, right? We feel our body because it is surrounded by the space, no? So in Taoism, very important practice, you dissolve it into the space again. Okay, so we have coarse space and subtle space. We have explained that before. Now, next one, they are fourfold enumeration or names. Enumeration of names, it is maybe just names, it's okay. There are 4 names for inhalation and exhalation. The first is vital energies. He translates wind as vital energies. Vayo dhatu. It has a justification, maybe in Tibetan it's like that. Because the prana is also the wind. And the most subtle nourishment is the prana nourishment. If we become the great yogis, we don't need to eat much. We can subsist mostly on the prana. Without the prana, we cannot live even 1 second. without solid food, without water, we can live even a long, long time. So this prana is much more nourishing, actually, than the solid food or water. And this prana is actually wind, so he translates as vital energies to make us aware. Then you have in and out breath, which translates anapana. Anapana means in and out breath. Then you have inhalation and exhalation, which translates ashvasa, prashvasa. In English, very difficult to differentiate, so a lot of confusion. Because unless you see Pali or Sanskrit, it is what is the difference between in and out breath and inhalation and exhalation. No difference, they are synonym, of course. But he's talking about the names, so they are different names, but they come to the same thing. So ashvasa, prashvasa, and anapana. And this is a very important name, which is so important to understand. The formations of the body, kaya samskara. We are alive because due to these formations, will formations. That's connected with our propulsive karma. Now we are working in this world and in this body because we have kaya samskara, which means the formations of the body. The wind forms the body. That you will see in your meditation on the breath, how wind forms your body moment by moment, especially when you're not breathing. It happens on the most subtle cellular level. So we live because we have samskaras due to propulsive karma in the past life. We have a vachi samkara, which is vitarka, vichara, the speech samskara. And we have the mind samskara, which is our sensations and our perceptions. If we don't have sensations and perceptions, our mind will not move. So we are here because of our samskaras, which are caused by the propulsive karma. We have to understand our world in order to understand what is beyond. In order to understand that all this is empty, as we learn in the Heart Sutra. That is why we recite the Heart Sutra. All this is empty, but we don't see it as empty. That is a problem. So, we have got the 4 names, and what is to be understood, the next one is the 2 thoughts in practicing anapana, to say simply. The two, in practicing Anapana, there are two doshas. Two faults or two shortcomings. So they are overly lax engagement. You practice with a tendency to laxity. This is called laya. Your mind has tendency to sink. When your mind has tendency to sink, among the 5 hindrances, it is called Tinamida, Styanam Midham. When the mind has tendency to sink, this is samsara of the meditator, when the mind has either tendency to sink or the tendency to go up. That is called audatyam, udacha. Audatyam in Sanskrit. Ut means up. So, for lack of better translation, we translate it as excitement. So, when we meditate, we are subjected to two thoughts. Either our mind has tendency to sink, or our mind has tendency to excitement. The tendency to excitement is tendency to search for sensual objects, catching some sensual objects, or tendency to resistance. We may be feeling pain and we want to resist by force, which makes that pain even worse. So it is kama guna, kama raga, pratigha, resistance. Due to resistance, we have fear, we have depression, we have worries. So most of the problem comes from resistance, not much less than kama raga. Then, when our meditation does not go well, we will certainly have vichikitsa, we will have doubt about what we're doing, and we will have remorse and excitement. All this are the manifestations of excitement. So the 5 nivaranas actually boil down to 2 tendencies, either to sinking or to excitement. And unless we have removed the 5 hindrances, we will never go into meditation. That means a deep meditation. We are meditating, but our mind is with an object which is not clear. And as yoga explains, without a clear object, you cannot have shamatha, you cannot have vipassana. You are just trying, no? But trying is very important. Unless we try, we will never succeed. So please don't get discouraged. At first, we have to face difficulties. Without facing difficulties, we will never learn anything. So all these difficulties, they directly or indirectly connected with the laya and audatyam, tendency of mind to sink and the tendency of mind to excitement, which makes the object of your meditation mechakucha, they say in Japanese.
Mecha.
Kucha, Durcheinander in German. That means mixed up. So, Asanga, author of this text, is very, very familiar. You will find many places in this text with Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the most wonderful science. If I am born again, I will learn Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the science which teaches you that all your troubles are due to the pragya aparada in previous lives, in present life, and in future lives. This due to pragya aparada, our body and mind is not in balance.
And what is pragya aparada?
Aparada, you use even in Hindi. What means aparada? The crime, literally.
Oh, aparada.
Aparat, yeah, it's the same. We have crime in regard to wisdom. Therefore, we don't use our body according to wisdom. We don't use our mind according to wisdom. Then we are wondering why we have so many troubles, no? Then we always blame others except ourselves, no? This is also pragya aparada. So very difficult to get away from pragya aparada. So please study Ayurveda. Connect with meditation, very wonderful. So everything, all the troubles are the result of imbalance. Same principle in Chinese medicine, Thai medicine, Indian medicine. We have imbalance of body and we have imbalance of mind. Therefore we suffer in body and we suffer in mind. And the job of the Vaidya, of the doctor, is to restore the balance. The Buddha is also called Vaidya Raja. He is a king of all the medical men because he is the most skillful in restoring the balance. In Chinese tradition, Tibetan tradition, I think also, I don't know so well, one of the most important Buddhas is the medicine Buddha. All the Tibetan tradition also, I see. You will find maybe even here. With a bowl, he has some medical plant in the bowl. So he is the Buddha of the East, and Amitabha is a Buddha of the West. In each direction you have a Buddha. So East and West, very important. In East you have the medicine Buddha. In the West you have the Buddha of the endless splendor. If your practice is good, these Buddhas will support you. So he explains, very lax engagement, this is connected with lazy mind. Is shrouded with dullness and drowsiness. Tinabida. Or it is distracted outward. When your mind has not a clear object, it will search for objects elsewhere. This is natural. In meditation, if your object is not clear, you will search for object somewhere else. Or the object, if you have better concentration, will arise from your so-called subconsciousness. Because your mind is lax. But this arising from subconsciousness will happen only if you have a deeper concentration. Normally it is just not completely being asleep, but what they call a monkey sleep, no? Monkey sleep. Inhalation and exhalation are forcibly drawn. This is called bala avahana. Bala avahana. Bala means force. Avahana means bringing the mind to the object by force. When you bring mind to the object by force, no way to find the bliss of meditation, impossible. And nowadays, in modern world, the beings are always trying to catch something, so that's why we have so many difficulties in meditation, always trying to catch something. So, the Vasubandhu explains in Abhidharma Kosha, if you want to meditate, first thing you have to have alpe ichata and santushti. Alpe ichata and santushti. Alpe ichata means few desires. Santushti means contentment. If we don't have contentment and few desires, we will not succeed in meditation, impossible. So because we have not practiced alpe ichata and santushti, we always want to catch something. And when we want to catch something, we get frustrated. And when we forcefully want to bring the object to the mind, what will happen? Imbalance vital energies. Asama. The ideal is sama. It becomes asama. Not sattvic. So with these non-sattvic energies, gunas in the body, very difficult to meditate. And same for the mind. This is the same. If the body has not sattvic gunas, very difficult to meditate. If the mind has no sattvic gunas, very difficult to meditate. So if we are too lax, and especially if we want to forcefully meditate, then our bodies will be, literally I translate, this is very difficult to translate, he translates, they are called pervasive, the winds in the limbs and the minor limbs, they have conflicting winds. There are conflicting winds in the body. When the conflicting winds in the body are pervasive, then very difficult to meditate. Moreover, when the pervasive vital energy becomes excessive, this is said to create illness. Accumulated, these conflicting winds are accumulated, then it causes illness. It blockades the channels. First the channels will be blocked, then the organs will be blocked. The same in Ayurveda, same in Chinese medicine. So this produces these conflicting winds produce the bodily imbalance and also mental imbalance. Same. Buddhism, same like Ayurveda, is the holistic approach to our body and mind. They cannot be separated. You find in Mahabharata, in Visuddhimagga, the same example. Bhishma is teaching our body and mind is like a blind man and a cripple. Blind man and a cripple. You will find in Visuddhimagga also, Buddhaghosa must have been he was a Brahmin, probably from South India, from Tamil Nadu. He was very familiar with Mahabharata. Who is a blind man? The eye cannot see anything without the mind. The eye is completely useless without the mind. And the mind also cannot move without the body, without the wind. So, what is our situation? The paralyzed sits on the shoulders of the blind man and tells him, go right, go left, sit down. That's how we function. So, in Buddhism, same like in Chinese medicine, we are nama-rupa, we are the body and the mind working together. If they are balanced well, then we function well. If they are not balanced well, we cannot function well. So we are in trouble. Trouble in the bubble, they say. This body is like a bubble, it's going to burst. Our situation, trouble in the bubble. So, in order to fix the body, we fix the body, but finally it will have to go anyway. the most important is to fix the mind. When you have fixed the mind, you'll be okay even when the body goes. And how to fix the mind with the help of the breath? You need 5, he calls it, five kinds of training, he calls it. In Sanskrit it is called parichaya, which is 5 acquaintances really. You have to be acquainted with 5 things to succeed in the meditation on the breath, to become an arahat. So you have to be familiar. Maybe we translate familiar, it is the best translation. You have to be familiar with counting. You will see in this tradition the counting is very, very intricate. But the counting explains, I have already said before, Satova asasati, satova pasasati. I breathe in mindfully, in and out mindfully. That means counting. But because you cannot do it, if you can do it, you don't need counting. But most of the beginners, they cannot do it, so they have to do counting. Or at least they have to remind themselves internally, I am breathing in, breathing out. This is counting. So that the mind does not go anywhere else. So this is the first parichaya, the first familiarity. The second familiarity is understanding, have the acquaintance, familiarity with the aggregates. Trouble in the bubble. The 5 aggregates, trouble in the bubble. Then you have to have familiarity, if you want to understand Buddhist meditation, with the dependent origination. When you have familiarity with dependent origination, you can penetrate or have become familiar with what he calls reality. Reality means the 4 Noble Truths. And when you are familiar with the 4 Noble Truths, you can succeed in these 16 exercises, which explain the mindfulness of the body, 4 exercises, mindfulness of the Vedana, of sensations. Next 4 exercises, mindfulness of the mind. Next 4 exercises, and mindfulness of the mental objects, or dharmas. So altogether 16 exercises. When you succeed in them, bye-bye samsara. But it will take time. But this time is worthy of investing. Now it is 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock?
It's coming to 10 past
10
10.
past 10. I have 5 past 10, but it doesn't make much difference, no? So let us do the counting, and then because at least first exercise, okay? The counting is very complicated, but you can try. So there are 4 methods of counting. Counting individually, it means in-breath 1, out-breath 2, in-breath 3, out-breath 4, up to 10. This is not very advisable. You will get confused. The next counting, which is also explained in Visuddhimagga, is a counting in-breath, out-breath 1, in-breath, out-breath 2, in-breath, out-breath 3, until 10. My teacher, Venerable Paok Sayadaw, he encouraged us to count into 8 to remember the 8 noble truths, the 8 Four Noble Paths. But the 10 is a good number. It's easy to, it's a decimal counting, very popular. But it does not mean you necessarily have to count to 10. Then you have Anuloma and Pratiloma. Anuloma means from 1 to 10, Pratiloma means from 10 to 1. So now, if you do Anuloma, you can test your ability for mindfulness, your sati bala, your power of mindfulness, by counting in the way he explains. First you count in-breath, out-breath until 10, then 2 in-breaths and 2 out, in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath as 1, up to 10, then in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath as 1, up to 10, and so on. In-breath, out-breath, 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 10 to 10, so means 100, right? If you don't lose your mindfulness of the breath while counting, so you are an advanced student. If you want to become expert, then you start 10 as 1, 9 as 1, 8 as 1, 7 as 1, 6 as 1, 5 as 1, 4 as 1, 3 as 1, 2 as 1, until 1 as 1. If you are able to keep Anuloma, Pratiloma, then you are expert in counting. Now in Chinese tradition, and this is very important not to separate the counting from the other steps, which you have learned yesterday. When you can count, automatically you will be able to follow. When you can follow, automatically you will be able to place. When you are able to place, automatically, if you want, you will be able to investigate. When you are able to investigate, you will be able to turn away. When you are able to turn away, you automatically will be able to experience purity. So these exercises should not be separated, but should be seen as one process. This is very important. That's why in Chinese they are called Liu Miao Men, the 6 wonderful methods. Why wonderful? Because each and every method can bring you to enlightenment. They should not be separated. The beginning should not be separated from the end. The end should not be separated from the beginning. And now you learn the Mahayana Shraddhopada Shastra, you have the similar principle. Everything happens in one moment. If you are clear about this one moment, you can master the 6 wonderful methods in the one moment and you become a Buddha. So the beginning and the end in the theory of transcendental wisdom cannot be separated. Cause is the effect, and the effect is a cause. The same principle you will find in Ayurveda, in Chinese medicine. The cold outside is a cold in the body. Heat outside is a heat in the body. You cannot separate. The cause is the effect is the cause. Wonderful world. That's why these 6 methods, they are called the wonderful methods, because you can realize them in one moment, but only after you have practiced for a long time. But of course, you have these exercises when you breathe in mindfully, in and out. You can also follow the breath, in breath and out breath, long or short. When you can follow in breath and out breath, long and short, you can also experience the whole body of the mind, the whole body of the breath, and the whole body here. And when you experience the whole body, your breath will become very subtle. And when your breath becomes very subtle, your mind can go into dhyana. When it goes into dhyana, it can practice mindfulness much more effectively.
Bhantiji, when you say follow, does it mean that one is literally following the breath? Or is it still established at one?
Depends your level. You have to understand your level. There is no strict guidance. You must do only like this. This is right, that is wrong. First, you have to establish your mindfulness on the breath, wherever you can are able to do it. Then, if you're ready for a more subtle method, now our friend is maybe teaching you some Qigong and so on. You want to go into more subtle, then you pay attention to the in-between breath. When you pay attention to the in-between breath, you will be aware in these gaps, the attention is on the whole body, because there is no any special point of reference, unless you make one. You can make one, but if you don't, then you will feel the vibrations in the whole body. Where you concentrate in the body, where you bring the mind, this vibration will be very obvious. If you don't put your attention to some particular place, they will appear in the whole body. And when they appear in the whole body, they appear because of the pulse. The blood is the base for the prana. That is a very important medical principle also. These channels, they run parallel to the arteries. They are not distinguishable. Only the Western science want to distinguish very, very. This is fascia. This is the blood vessel. This is. But in the Oriental medicine, this is not the case. It is feeling. It is based on feeling. what you feel is true. The anatomy says like that. Anatomy says the spleen is on the, which side? The spleen, the left side, no? Spleen is on the left side. The Chinese medicine will teach you the spleen is more in the right side because you feel it. Anatomy does not matter. And this is very difficult to understand for those who have background in the Western medicine. The feeling are the gunas, no? Okay, so now we do 2 times 40 minutes meditation. Is it about the right thing to do? And in between we have always 10 or 15 minutes. 15 is okay. Huh? Okay, so now maybe short walk, huh? Short break, 5 minutes break, just.
So we can begin with walking, perhaps?
We can begin with walking, or you can do some, what you have learned, some Qigong exercise. You have taught them Anga Chalana. Huh? Anga Chalana is good.
Since we've already been sitting for some time, what we can do is we can take a break now, dear friends.
5 minutes. Huh?
Just breathe, and then come back and begin walking meditation. Like a bell to bring us back in for a sitting 40 minutes.
If anyone wants to go to toilet, so now the 10 minutes break, huh? Okay?